Mona Haydar and Sebastian Robbins of the Great Muslim-American Road Trip on PBS, thank you so much for joining us, and tell our viewers why you decided to take part in this project.
Yeah, the project was born out of a very simple and personal idea, actually, which was for Mona and I to, in some ways, have a second honeymoon, to spend some time together. Like everyone in the world, we've been locked down, homeschooling and remote learning with our kids. We've been married almost 10 years. So the inception was really this chance to just be together and take this road trip through a part of the country that we really didn't know anything about. But what ended up happening and what it blossomed into was actually something much more beautiful and really more interesting than just the two of us bickering in the car and eating potato chips. And that was meeting these amazing people and vibrant communities in the most unlikely places along Route 66. And that's really what the show conveys.
Mona, what do you think the purpose of this show is, and what need does it fulfill, if any?
Yeah, I mean, for us, the opportunity was golden because it was an opportunity for us to be real and to be authentic and to just be who we are. We're not actors. So it's just actually us taking a road trip and meeting beautiful people along the way, getting really inspired by people's stories. And the need, I feel like, is that you don't see a lot of just genuine authenticity on TV. And a lot of things are scripted, and even in reality television, it's scripted. And this was just us kind of being goofballs and us really just being us.
And you're highlighting various Muslim stories across Route 66 and a history of Muslim stories that date back to the 1800s. I was surprised to learn the history extends that long. Were you?
Yeah, we were blown away. We actually thought we knew something about Islam. We thought we knew something about American history. And actually, what we learned was, in some ways, the further west we went, the further back in time um, our sense of history. And it actually goes back even further than that. It goes back to the year 1500 when this man was born, Mustafa Zamori. We hear his story on the Zuni Pueblo in New Mexico, regarded as the first African and the first Muslim to come to this land as an enslaved Moroccan. His story is amazing. And then about 120 years later, the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade actually included a large number of Muslims who were kidnapped as Africans and brought to this country, many of whom held on to their religion. And we, like I said, had an inkling of some of this history, but we were really students at the feet of these scholars and historians and archaeologists who took their time to explain that. And I really hope the viewers can learn with us, because the journey was really as much education for us as it was for anything else.
And that's neat because both of your histories have been involved in educating Americans about the Muslim population here, specifically the Ask a Muslim table that you set up in Massachusetts outside of a library, and that was following some terrorist attacks in San Bernardino and in Paris. When you did that, Mona, what did you find people wanted to know, and what do you want people to know about being Muslim in the U.S. or Islam?
I mean, one thing that I hope is always conveyed is beyond language. It's just an energetic, it's a good feeling. And that is when you spend time with a human being, you can truly meet them and know them. And that was the entire intention behind the Ask a Muslim project. It was that Sebastian always likes to share this quote. It's that you can't hate up close. And when you really spend time with a person, you look into their eyes, you shake their hand, they become not a stranger anymore. They become a friend. They become a beloved. And when you have beloveds all around you, you're home everywhere you go. And that was the experience that we hoped to share with our neighbors while we were living in that part of the country at the time. And we've taken that ethos with us everywhere we've gone. We've lived in a great many places, and everywhere is home when you're surrounded by beloveds.
Sebastian, when you converted to Islam, that was after you met Mona, why did you make that choice? Had you been practicing a religion prior to that?
Yeah, I grew up, my mom is a beautiful Christian believer. I grew up going to church. My dad's family is Jewish, and I have the whole spectrum of Jewish belief on that side. So I really grew up with this very rich understanding of what God is and who God is. And I spent a lot of my young adult life searching for my home and my path to God. Mona was sort of this muse who appeared in my life and kind of just gave me the keys to this castle and said, "Look, I'm not your teacher. I'm not going to encourage you to do this, but it's there if you want to explore." And I'm grateful to her, and I'm grateful to have found a path. I think we're all on our own paths. I think ultimately we're going to the same place. Um, and Yeah, and I try to make my work and my life on this earth a part of that path.
There was an interview that you did in 2017 where you said Islamophobia just wasn't the thing that it is today. I don't know if I would have converted as readily or as publicly now as I did then. Do you still feel that way? How were you received during this trip?
We were received beautifully, I have to say. You know, I could go on and on about all the problems in the world, and I think anybody paying attention knows what they are. No matter what you believe, you're afraid of something. We're all afraid of each other. And in some weird ways, that gives us something in common, right? We're all afraid of each other. And if we can somehow leverage that commonality to say, hey, we're all actually feeling the same thing, we might be able to get somewhere. But there's something about being a traveler that puts you in a very vulnerable, open, almost helpless situation. And people can respond to that in different ways. People can take advantage of that, or they can open their arms and welcome you in and feed you and share stories. And that's really what we felt from the beginning, was this welcoming, this desire to know us, but also to have us know them. And the trip was very charmed and blessed in a way. And I think because we didn't go in with a hammer, we didn't go in trying to educate anybody. We went in very open-hearted and almost innocently. And that led to this series of beautiful encounters in just these wild places around the country.
Mona, do you think that maybe Sebastian sometimes doesn't pick up on how you are received? Are you received a little bit differently because of the hijab? Also, I love your song, Wrap My Hijab, Wrap My Hijab. It's stuck in my head. I encourage everybody to go look on YouTube.
Well, yeah, I mean, I married a 6 foot tall, blue-eyed white man, and we're not gonna have the same experience. And I think that's just the reality of the world, that we all have our unique individual experiences, and there is beauty in that. Because when we come together, we can learn from one another based on our individual unique perspectives. But the thing that I love about Sebastian is that he's always curious about what my experience is. And while we do have wildly different experiences out there in the world, he has showed up for me in all his beauty as a male with so much privilege, and he's using his privilege as an investment into a more beautiful world. And I think that's what it takes, for each person to take what they have, that they have been gifted in this world, whether we deserve it or not, and invest it into the world that we're hopeful about creating together, that's more beautiful and more excellent and more generous and more kind. Because I don't know, if we're not doing that, I don't really know what we're doing. So yeah, I mean, he called me his muse, but in a way, I really respect the way that he shows up in this world too.
Last question for both of you. You made a stop in Las Vegas. What were your impressions of this city?
Oh my God.
Whew.
It was in some ways the best, most profound stop. And I'm not just saying this because this is coming to Las Vegas. On the one hand, we met a man who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for head spinning. He's just an incredible guy. He was a performer with Cirque du Soleil. He's from Belgian and Moroccan descent.
But we had this transformative experience in Las Vegas where we met with the Muslim village, and you would never know that they were there. Because they're right off the strip, and it's this vibrant community where this woman saw a need for fresh fruits and vegetables in her community, went into her own pocket and filled up her trunk and went around giving away free food. And that has blossomed into a practice that continues to today, but now it's not just a trunk of a car, it's a community center, a mosque, a library, housing initiatives, job training, and so much more. And we just walked away from that community so inspired by what they're doing and hopeful that we can learn from them and do similar work where we are.
A transformational trip to Las Vegas. Mona, Haydar, Sebastian Robbins, I so look forward to seeing that episode of the Great Muslim American Road Trip. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having us.